Awaken the light. The cosmos is within you. Remember who you are.
Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome all, love and lights, Ashe. Welcome all to the Akh Ascension, as you know, and I'll probably say it one more time when we get started. This is Minister Dr. Akala Kama'at, and you know I have to do the little checking to make sure, and today I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And TikTok, of course, is on my phone. So, hey TikTok, how y'all doing today? I'm just checking to make sure I'm looking okay on these hey, hi, how y'all doing, TikTok? Please look, I got these, I don't know why I got the shadow on my eyes. TikTok, hey, listen, I'm streaming on Facebook and YouTube, so you're joining me. I appreciate. Look, TikTok, I give y'all much love. YouTube, I give y'all much love, and I'm also streaming on Facebook, and I'm just checking to make sure I'm okay on these different channels. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You know, it took me a minute to get together this script. Because I'm really excited to talk about it. As you know, we are in the Gate of Akh, the final gates of the path of the Akh Ascension. We went through the Gate of Ka, the Gate of Ba, and now we're entering the gates of Akh. Okay, and if you missed yesterday, I opened the doorway into the Gate of Akh to get us started. So that is on, I did upload a couple of clips from that live stream yesterday, but it is in full with a, what do you call it? A breakdown of the time. So you can click on the areas you want to click on Power Profit TV. Yes, I'm excited to be here. The script took me a minute to get together, but I got it together. And again, TikTok, I'm streaming on Facebook and YouTube. I'm streaming on Facebook and TikTok. Facebook, I'm streaming on YouTube and TikTok. All right. So again, I'm excited to be here, and let me get started with the important stuff, the housekeeping stuff. YouTube, you know, give me thumbs up if you like this stream, and hit subscribe. We need to get in the algorithms, because if you like this, maybe other people will like it too. And they can't access it if I'm not in the rhythm of the live streams. So YouTube, hit thumbs up and subscribe and hit notifications if you want to be notified of what's going on. TikTok, come on and follow. Let me know what's up with you. And the same with Facebook. You know, follow, get on board, and so you know when things are dropping, when clips come up, and all the good stuff. Hi, Letitia. Hi, Nana. If you guys are going to stay here, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. This is a commentary. I'm just going to work through this. So please know I'm seeing the comments. I will say hi as often as I can, and I will respond to any comments in the chats if I can. But you know, look, I got a lot of stuff to get through today. So that's the end of the housekeeping stuff there, my friends. So as you know, we are in the Gate of Akh, and we are entering into the Sahu today. And my device is overheating. I just turned it on. So TikTok, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep up on the phone, but I will stay here as long as the phone allows me to stay here for y'all. And if something happens and I have to go, I encourage you to come on over to Power Profit TV or go to Power of Release on Facebook to see this stream. And again, I'm doing another check to make sure I'm not blurry. And I'm not blurry, y'all. Yeah. So I'm excited. Like I said, it took me a minute to get this live stream together. And so it's fresh out of my head onto the paper. I did not have a chance to read it and practice it as much as I would like to. But I look, it's a lot of stuff going on, and I just had to get this out because, I was thinking this morning and last night. I'm gonna give you some transparency about what drove me to do this script, because I'm sitting there and I watched this guy. His live stream is called Secular Talk. I sit in the news too much, but see, that's me being me, right? And also, as a streamer, content creator, I got to keep up on what's happening, right? And so I'm sitting there watching Secular Talk, and this gentleman is, hey, thank you for the love. And this gentleman he's talking and he's providing his commentary on the news. And then I was thinking to myself, there needs to be another level another level of discussion about these things. Thank you, Goddess. Thank you. There has to be another level of discussion. And that's what, I strive to do on commentaries, especially when I'm talking about the Akh Ascension and these chambers of Ren, Ib, Ka, Kat, and today Sahu, because these concepts are from ancient African spirituality. And so, what resonance do they have in this day and age? And, I spent 25 years, I'm giving you some background. I spent 25 years as a research scientist, and my specialty was translational research, taking what I found, what I discovered, and then translating it into thank you, Goddess, and then translating it into lived reality, right? And so that's what I like to do with these 9 bodies of light. Utilize them as a lens to look at what's happening in our society before I bring it home with the teaching tomorrow and the practice on Thursday. And so that's what kind of got me here. Like, there needs to be another level of analysis on the things that we see, because people are just, my thought was, people are just, they keep talking about this stuff. They keep puzzling out and arguing and talking about this is wrong and this and this and this, but nobody gets to the meat and potatoes about what the overarching, what does this really mean? What's really happening here? And not that I am the end all be all of what's happening here at level of abstraction, that I'm going to take it into the spiritual realm and also into a more scholarly type of realm, right? Scholarship, drawing on African-American scholars and others to put some sense making on this. So it's not all, he said this, she said that. Look at the TikTok, look at the Instagram, look at what they're saying, blah, 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 back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's like, what are we doing? Really? Like, even what am I doing? I'm striving to bring a message. But sometimes, when you think about this stuff, it's just another voice added into the other voices that are beating each other up. My ultimate goal is not to beat on anybody. The ultimate goal is for Kim Peoples, to realize who they are and how messed up this society is. On one level, we can see how this society weighs and burdens on people. But then it becomes like, okay, well, that's life. No. That's a life that people want you to co-opt and be in for exploitation and commodification, as we will get in today. But that's not life. That's not what authentic living and purpose is about. That's not what the shining is about. And that's the Gate of Akh. Shining, illumination, the illuminated self, power made manifest, right? Now we can utilize these tools to communicate how power can be manifest, which is important. And that's why I like to bring it to stuff that we actually engage day to day, the news, an activity, something to bring some sort of context in this day and age. So Today, thank you, goddess. You know, look, I'm loving you. I'm gonna have to jump on over there and give you 100 million loves and likes and all that stuff. I appreciate y'all. So today I'm talking about the split. They split you to sell you. That's what I'm talking about today. And that's going into the digital cage, the corruption of identity, and the reunion at the Gate of Akh, right? Because sometimes we need to take a step back and reflect on what it is that we engage and do in order to make an informed decision about continuing, adjusting, doing it a different way, or something, right? Give us some critical thinking capacity so that when we do what we do, we know why we're doing it and what we are buying into. Nobody says you got to stop anything. But for me in my life and what I like to communicate is, why do we do the things we do? What are we buying into, right? And what that does to us from my perspective, from the way I have survived this society and world, and how I have transformed in some ways. So look, I'm gonna get into it because I'm excited. Like I said, this is fresh off the press. And I want to start, my friends, with what they did to a mother. Okay? Not with who I am, although I did start with that. Not with a welcome, although I did start with that, but with her. Okay? Because in Mississippi right now, there is a woman burying, or who has buried, her 18-year-old son, my friend. And we all know his name. His name is Nolan Wells. He went out on an island on the 4th of July, and days later, folks found him dead in the water. And whilst his mother was living the worst time a human can live, while she was choosing a casket for her child, strangers who never met her, who never once knew him or the daddy or the siblings, went looking for her job, as well as her dignity and her self-respect, my friends. And I'm not going to relitigate what happened. I'm taking it up a notch, okay? Look, they found her business online, and they left review after review after review, 1 star, 1 star, 1 star on the work she did with her own hands. Not because of her work, right? They admit that. Because a story about her son was moving fast, and they wanted a black body to punish, okay? They tried to get a grieving mother fired for sport, all right? And it got so ugly that other people had to beg the review sites to take the fake ratings down. And as you know, that is not the end-all be-all of what has happened to them. And I will get into some of that. Again, I'm not relitigating what's already in the social media. I'm looking at this digital corruption of the self, okay? The digital corruption of the self. And I have to say, in all of my years as an African-American studies scholar and a person who's a social scientist and behavioral health scientist, right? There is the momentum to beat the heck out of Black women in any which way they can. I know you know that so far, almost 1 million Black women have been let go from their jobs in America. It was 600,000 20 weeks ago. I'm sure it's 900,000 and more, okay? So this is something that is not news, because the woman's Black body has been exploited and beat up on for centuries, okay? That's not news. Well, maybe it is news to some. If you want to get into that, I encourage you to go read Bell Hooks' book, Ain't I a Woman? Because what's happening to Nolan Wells' mama is something that has happened to Black women since we were torn from our homeland and dragged over here to crazy town, United States of Americans. And you know why? Black women are the fulcrum of spirituality and common sense. All right? I'm going to just tell it like it is. And yes, black men, look, Kim men, we love you. But we have a very particular, special positionality in this cosmos. We make this work. We birthed it into life. We birthed this world into being. So why would they not come for us with their full force all the time? We make ourselves vulnerable, right? But it's also about the daddy, you know? It's also about the daddy, the black man. And if they can crush the mama, they can crush the black man, right? It's not secrets, all right? So let me tell you, I know Nolan Wells' mother said publicly, if you're not giving uplifting, encouraging words to me and my family, just stop. And you know that's a delusion, because ain't nothing gonna stop. Once you put yourself into the machine, the digital machine, that's all she wrote, you know? That's it. That's it. So I can appreciate her words and respect her positionality. Once you enter that space, it's gloves are off. It's like Fight Club. You're just gonna get beat up if you a particular persuasion, and not, they don't care who they attack anymore. So look, a mother standing over her son, asking the whole of the internet, the whole of social media, just stop. While it's trying to hunt her paycheck, her capacity to provide for her family, her capacity to live her life, her capacity to send her children who are left standing to college, to school, to eat. I'm not discounting daddy here, but I'm talking about the mama. We're focusing on how they are trying to destroy her. Now hear me and hear me clearly, my friends, because I'm going to hold what I'm saying all this live stream long. I'm not here to tell you how or why Nolan died, okay? His own family does not fully know yet, as you know. We're not going to lay that boy on a table today and argue over him. No, because that is exactly what the machine did and does, right? We are better than the machine. That's my hope. Okay, so today is not about his death, my friends. Today is about what they did to the living, what they do to the living, and about the part of you they are trying to do it to right now while you scroll or when you scroll. As I mentioned, my friends, my name is Minister Dr. Akala Kama'at, and this is the Akh Ascension. And if this is your first time sitting with me, you are not behind. Never, ever, 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 my friends. Never behind. You right on time. On Monday, we opened the last gate of this whole journey, the Gate of Akh, the Reframe, right? The Reframe. And if you want more information on the Reframe, I encourage you to see Monday's live stream, the doorway to the Gate of Akh. And we named a womb that lives underneath everything, my friends, a split, a split. Our ancestors taught you to carry a Ka, your life force, your bloodline, and a Ba, your true self, your soul, taught you to carry that. And those two are always meant to be one. But this world drives them in two different directions. You know, a house divided cannot stand. That's just not, I got an unstable connection. That's just not the house, my friend. That's also society as a house. United States of America as a house, right? The internet as a house. The house is a metaphor for any closed, bounded system. A house divided cannot stand, my friends. But this world divides you into two different directions. It reserves the right to tell you who you are and how you are allowed to exist, and splits you while you try to obey. Yeah, we obey. We're socialized to obey. Yes, it is on YouTube right now as we speak, my friend. It's live on YouTube and on Facebook in the Power of Release page, but you can get it on YouTube on Power Profit TV. Okay? And the force that does the splitting and wants you to obey, you know, the force has a name for this work, and we call it the cage. I also call it the scarcity pain matrix of fear, and I've talked a great deal about that on Power Profit TV, and I'm not going to share all of that background today. I'm going to call it the cage. The cage is not bars, as you may be thinking in your mind. The cage is the story, my friends. Somebody writes about your existence, my friends, and hands to you and tells you to wear it as your own face. Power Profit TV, yes, my friend, yes. And tells you to wear it as your own face. It is as old as empire, right? Why is this happening? Give me a second. I don't know what's going on. I feel like somebody got control of my internet. It is as old as empire. Think about the Roman Empire. Think about how America is made in the memory and structure of the Republic of Rome, right? Every people who ever conquered another wrote this story, right? Because they either have to justify the conquering or post-justify the conquered, right? But something happened to the cage in our lifetime, my friends, that never happened in all of human history. Okay? The cage got automated, digitized. It became a feed in your pocket, awake at night. And for the very first time, it learned how to make money, real money, off of splitting from you yourself. Let me tell you. And for the first time, it learned how to make money, real money, off of you splitting from yourself. I know some of y'all are like, what the hell is she splitting me? I'm on the camera. How's that splitting me? I'm whole on the camera. Well, I'm going to tell you something, okay? And because that's what we're looking at here today, my friends. Not a sad story about strangers, my friend. The newest and most profitable cage ever built, and where it is trying to keep a whole people. Where it is trying to keep a whole people. And YouTube, I will ask you, my friends, to please, TikTok, I think the whole thing is about buying gifts. Whatever I got up there, if you want to give me something, I encourage you to please do that. I get a note that says to do this every so often on the phone. Okay, so the oldest cage is the story someone else writes about who you are, right? The newest one lives in your pocket, and it turns a profit, my friends. So let me tell you exactly how this machine makes its money, right? Now, I know you know affiliations, become an affiliate, branding, sell people stuff on your site, get a Shopify and connect it to your social media, right? Okay. But once you see what I'm going to say, you cannot unsee what I'm getting ready to share with you. The digital cage does not sell you shirts, my friends. It does not sell you shoes. It sells you, me, right? Your attention is the thing up on the auction block, bought and sold 1,000 times a day. And the machine learned one brutal truth about the human being. A calm mind closes the app. An angry mind stays. I know y'all hear me. I know you understand what I'm saying right now. So the feed is built to keep you angry, frustrated, talking about the hate hating, right? It keeps you angry and anxious. It hands you the thing that will enrage you on purpose, that gets you thinking like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. You don't know how many times when I'm scrolling just to see what's happening, I see people with their live streams or their reels discussing something messed up, these Karen videos, these people fighting, all of this stuff. Some of them are laughing. It's so funny. But what are they doing to themselves in the whole act of finding humor in hate? I don't know. I do know, but all I do know is that this machine wants to enrage you on purpose, because a peaceful you, my friends, is worth nothing. And I ain't saying people shouldn't have fun and do what they do, but a furious you is gold. Like, back in the day when I was in college and I was studying media and communication, the thing that they always tell us is, if it bleeds, it leads in a news story. So just think, that's in a little newscast on broadcast media. Now it's multiplied by more than 1 million times. If it bleeds, it leads in social media. And we are magnetized, and it draws us like a magnet. If it bleeds, it leads. That is true. And it ain't really got to bleed. It's just got to do something jacked up. Say something jacked up, because that's a bleeding that leads, because it draws people in, right? It ain't got to be no actual violence, no fighting, although that's on there too. I just got to admit, some of them Karen videos, I'm sorry, I can watch. I'm sorry. I'm a human, right? I'm a human being. I'm fallible, right? And the people who study this call this the outrage economy. Okay. And I need you to really hear what that phrase means. Your hate is not the side effect of the digital machine. Your hate is the product, right? It is the inventory on the shelf. How else do you think these media companies stay up and running? It's not because people are all, look at how many people look at Gaia, right? That app, compared to how many people are sucking the teat of hate on the internet. And I like Gaia for what it's worth. They don't have too many Kim people on there talking about spirituality, which I got a problem with, but it is peaceful and it is calm. Okay? So, your hate is the product. It is the inventory on the shelf. Now watch that run on this grieving family. I'm going to let you know. A boy dies, and within days, the machine has turned his death into a national screaming match. Because a fight sells better than grief ever could. A children's entertainer with millions of followers. And Miss Rachel, I just found this woman who's like the new Mr. Rogers on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, stepped in and said this: we know the investigation and everything that followed would have been different if Nolan Wells were white and his friends were black. No one in his family deserves justice. And you know what the machine did to her? It did not sit with her words, my friends. It did not weigh them. It split the armies overnight. A former prosecutor fired back that it was race bait. Posted, he said, without a shred of evidence that was race bait. Okay? And the two sides went to war in comments for days. Now, let me get through this, all right? Just stay with me while I get through this little bit. And I want you to notice who vanished in that war. The boy, the mother, their actual grief, buried underneath a culture war food fight, my friends, that made money for every platform it moved across. And not $1 for the family it was supposedly about. And I do have to bring in to this conversation. All of these Kim streamers who they have this new term, COON. I'm not going to say this, a social media COON, who help, who this machine justify the disrespect and the denigration of dignity that it does to Kim people. If they have people that look like us doing the do, serving the hate, facilitating the hate discussions, then for many of these people, oh, that's okay, right? You know, that is the tale. The machine doesn't care who's right, my friend. It only cares that you keep fighting, because the fighting keeps your thumb or your index finger moving, and a grieving family was just the wood it threw in the fire. And you know it's going to be somebody else, something else, sometime soon. And that's in the mix of a society that has fallen the hell apart. Yeah. Distractions. Now, I'm not going to go off into that because I don't want to bring nobody down right now. But we got a real problem in the United States of Americans, my friend. And if you think anything is going to get better, you are mistaken. And I'm speaking as a prophet right now and a psychic. I have seen the writing on the wall. So in the midst of scrolling, we need to think about how we can protect ourselves, our families, and our communities, because it is going to come down to that. Do you understand me? I hope you do. All right. Maybe that's another live stream, but TikTok been censoring me, so I don't know what's up with that. And I don't know what's up with Facebook and YouTube. They might, let me tell you, the non-Kim people on Facebook, they go crazy when they hear me talk, right? And YouTube, I haven't had very many, but let me tell you, there is a war against Kim people, and it ain't just immigrants, okay? Now look, I want to take you to the words themselves, what was said, because the words tell on the whole thing. The self this machine built for you has two names hiding right inside it. And once you hear them, you will never look at your screen the same way again. I hope, my friends. The first is persona, okay? Remember, I'm coming from academe for 25 years. So I'm sharing some of this stuff with you. The first is persona. It is Latin, my friends. It does not mean a person. It meant the mask, the actual mask an actor held over his face while he was on stage. So the crowd in the back could see who he was pretending to be. It amplified the visual, right? Persona was always the face, and the face is never the same as the person. Stay with me. The second is profile. It comes from the old idea of drawing a thing in an outline, right? A profile is a side view. A profile, I think, is, what's that? A two-dimensional or one-dimensional view, right? A sketch, the flat edge of a person traced onto a page. So look at what the machine, the digital machine, what is actually handing you and called your identity. What is it? It gave you a persona, a mask, and a profile, an outline, and then looked you dead in your eye and told you that the mask and outline were you. Because many times what we do, like, for instance, Officer Tatum, right? He does what he does online, right? And we could say when he gets offline, he's a different person. Let me tell you, many times the way we are online is who we are offline. We can't turn it off after a while. And that's a problem if what we're doing online is not necessarily uplifting or nice. Remember, I talked 2 weeks ago about the generative power of words, no mo, and how what we say creates reality. And if we're online saying the same old debased BS, you better believe that we are creating a reality that follows us everywhere we go. Remember, our words cast spells, they are incantations. And what you hear does the same thing, right? But your real self, right? Those people that understand who they are on some level, right? That could turn it off, right? Even those that can't, they get confused. I need you to know that your real self, the full and round and breathing thing, was never in that persona or that profile. Although we get confused and they become how we live in reality, right? It could not be. The machine only trades in mask because a mask is the only part of a human being it can measure. It can't get into the spirit or inside, right? It cannot hold your soul. It's not made for that. So no matter how much I want to do something to raise consciousness, no matter how much I want to do this, it cannot see my soul. And y'all might be like, oh yeah, that minister Dr. Akala Kama, I see her, but y'all don't know me. Not yet anyway, right? Especially people who are just now coming to see me. Who am I? Who are you? We're not interacting with the real people. We're interacting with a mask, a profile, a persona. It's okay as long as we understand what is really happening in this machine. It cannot hold anybody's souls. It sells your outline, my outline, and it keeps the change. Now, the thing about some of us is we don't traffic in hate. We don't traffic in clickbait, right? So it's not making no money off of us in the same way that it makes it off of the hate and the anger and the frustration that comes out. Now, I want to bring you to this scholar, this theorist that I encountered when I was in my undergraduate. His name is Guy Debord, and believe it or not, he wrote this book in 1967, the year I was born. Oh, I outed myself. And he looked at the world already drowning in images, right? A lot of the stuff I was introduced to when I was in college is really making sense now. And he called it the Society of the Spectacle. Now, stay with me here. This is not clickbait. This is not easy stuff. This is real knowledge. Listen to how exactly he named the thing we are living inside of. Everything that was directly lived has receded into a representation. Everything that was directly lived receded into a picture. That is a family's real loss turned into a clip you could react to. That is a real boy turned into a side you pick, a sideshow you pick at. Their life did not just get watched, it receded. And the representation of it took the stage. That's deep. And then this gentleman, Debord, said the line that pulls this whole illusion apart, quote, "The spectacle is not a collection of images, my friends. It is a social relation between people that is mediated by images." There's also something called parasocial relationships. I studied this in my master's. Yes, I went to school for communication and media ecology. That's my undergraduate and my master's. And so let me tell you, this idea of the spectacle mediated by images, there's something called parasocial relationships. And that's when, for instance, and I know some of us who've grown up in houses where we used to watch soap operas, right? And you sit home like General Hospital or One Day at a Time, whatever they were called, or even Dallas, like these old school shows. And the person watching would have a relationship with somebody on TV. That even happens now. People watching somebody on TV and think they know the person on the TV that they're looking at. Like they know the soul. Oh, no, they wouldn't do that. Oh, my God, no. Like they have a relationship called parasocial relationship. So this guy, Debord, is talking about a social relationship mediated by images, and it can become a fake relationship because we think we know somebody, right? We think we're having a relationship with someone. So the spectacle is not the pictures, my friends. It is what happens to us in between the pictures, right? A whole people can only reach each other through a machine that stands in the middle and takes a cut off of every exchange. Before the parasocial relationship, you didn't get paid for it per se, right? I mean, yes, it was on TV. You know, maybe you paid for cable back in the day. But now, every platform is making money off of these parasocial relationships, off of this exchange of images and representation. And this man, Debord, even named the money in it. The spectacle, he wrote, my friends, is capital accumulated until it becomes an image, my friends. Your life, your face, your grief turned into money wearing the shape of a photograph, a reel, a post, a live stream. Okay? Now, hear it in the language of our ancestors, my friends, because I know I'm talking about some European philosopher here. The spectacle is the cage. The cage keeps your your true living self, locked in the back room while it sells your picture out front. And again, I'm not saying this to have anybody stop doing what makes them happy. I'm just saying if you do it, then know why, what you're doing, the impact of it, and what could possibly be an outcome from it. Critical thinking, my friends. Even in spiritual terms, you have to be a critical thinker and not just do stuff without any knowledge as to why you do what you do. So Debord, this guy, spent his whole life naming the prison the cage. And there was never a key to be found because there is not one. Our ancestors carved the key before his and this civilization was even born. Okay, and we will get there today in a minute, my friends. All right, your life does not vanish, but it has receded into a representation. And the digital machine can be called to keep the original. The machine kept the original, right? Yeah. Sorry, y'all. I'm looking at comments and stuff. All right. So now I have to show you the actual theft, because yesterday I talked about the split and how the split gets made. I think this is important to this whole conversation about what we do in this digital space. So come back with me, especially if you've been with me on this journey. Come back with me to the Ka, your life force, your vitality, your attention, the hours of the one life you were given on this earth. There's another scholar I want to talk about. This person's name is Shoshana Zuboff, all right, Zuboff. And she gave this machine its truest name. I'm going to say it right now, surveillance capitalism, okay? And the idea is simple and it may be chilling. Your lived experience, your days, your clicks, your grief, your joy, all of it as treated as free, raw material. right? Harvested, packaged, and sold to predict what you will do next and to steer you into doing, right? Now, some of us may know this at a surface level, but have never really thought about the idea that everything we put in this space is co-opted by something else. We're confused where we get concerned now about AI taking stuff from us, right? I don't want to go on there because the AI is going to take my voice. Oh no, you don't have permission to use my stuff, right? But in actuality, my friends, once you enter the machine, you have no claim over anything that you represent. It is no longer yours. Do you understand that? It is no longer yours, my friends. It is harvested, packaged, and sold to the highest bidder. And right now, that is AI. Don't get me wrong, I use AI a lot, right? To hunt for jobs, help me with that, to do research for these live streams. I've even tried to talk to AI maybe 3 times. It was very uneventful and not satisfying at all. So I'm going to say it one more time. This theorist, this scholar named Zuboff, in her book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, this is 2019, my friends, right? Human experience is free raw material for translation into behavioral data. If you hear me, write a comment, say, I hear you, raw material. Write it in the comments, write it in the chat, raw material. Because be aware of what it is that you do and what are the ramifications of that, okay? I was very clear with myself about what I was exposing when I moved into these little windows of opportunity, right? Very clear. And while people are saying, don't use that social media, don't use that AI, I'm like, it is what it is, because I thought critically, it's going to happen no matter what anyway. This is a machine. We're not the players. We're the pawns. Now, if we developed our own stuff, like Ibrahim Traore created our own things, our own sovereign digital spaces, then that's different. But when we're playing in the playground of these folks, they just gonna steal, co-opt, use, make tons and billions and millions of money, and you don't get none of it. No matter what, we making somebody else rich, bitch. No, sorry. Sorry. I take that back. So, that human experience, that fire, that behavioral data, look, that is your K-A, your life force. Like, you know, in some cultures, like right now, even in Africa, even in Haiti, there's some cultures that do not want you can't take their picture because it's like somebody stealing your soul. They understand how that works. Only in the United States of Americans, those of us who were raised here in this society, do we not get that, right? That they are taking our soul, right? Now, it's a trade-off. You can say, okay, whatever, you can have that because you ain't really got my soul. But I mean, really? That's a whole nother live stream right there. I'm not even going to get into that. So look, listen to this. Your life force drafted into service of the machine that never once asked you, my friends, and never once told you what it was doing, working a shift you never agreed to work. And here is the split laid all the way bare what I was talking about. While your life force, is out there working the night shift for the feed, performing on it, defending your mask on it, refreshing it at 2 in the morning, your your true soul, the part of you that was made to fly, is starving in the back. Starving in the back, gone quiet, forgetting its own voice. The cage does not need to lock up your body anymore. Oh, no. It figured out a long time ago something more efficient than a jail cell. Although we know people are being thrown into detention or concentration camps all day and night, performing free, probably back-breaking, brutal labor today, right? But the machine just splits your life force from your soul and keeps the two of them pointed in opposite directions as long as you will let it. How many of us go online and are one way just to get the clicks? And when we get off, we're totally different. You know, I had a friend of mine, because see, that's my problem. I can't be someplace and be inauthentic. You know, when I have a job, I need to be able to be me at the job. And I was telling him, you know, I cannot go back into that machine because I feel trapped. And he's saying, well, just act. Just act. It's a means to an end. Just act. Just pretend. It sounded real good to me, especially me who is needing financial stability at this time, right? Trying to do this work, taking the risk to do this work, hoping someday, believing it will pay off one day in a way that I can just meet my bills, right? He wants me to go back into the machine and just pretend and act as a means to an end. There are many of us who can't get with that, although many of us can. Right? But that's what, you know, so people do that. And then they come back on and they spew hate, you know, they spew frustration, anxiety, they see the souls, and then they get off and they act normal, you know, they're not hateful. But like I said, words are incantations, spells. They cast spells. They have generative power. So while they think they are leaving that on the floor there, it's really impacting them here, right? But this whole digital machine is operative through the split of the Ka and the Ba, as long as your life force and your soul are moving in two opposite directions. It's straight because it has no accountability, right? There's no accountability there, right? And so, you know, now I have to name the appetite underneath of this, because you know I speak to Kim folks, K-E-M, and I hope you by now know what I mean when I say that, because this machine does not eat everybody in the same way. Munchy, munch, munch, munch. It don't eat everybody in the same way. You know, a great Black woman who I have long admired, right, named what is happening here long before the feed ever existed. And her name is Bell, B-E-L, Hooks, H-O-O-K-S. In her book, Black Looks, my friend, she gave it a name, this appetite, that should sit right down in your chest, my friends. She called it eating the other. Eating the other, O-T-H-E-R. She says in the book, the full title is Black Looks, Race, and Representation from 1992, quote, within commodity culture, ethnicity becomes spice, seasoning that can liven up the dull dish that is mainstream blank culture, you know, W-H-I-T culture, right? Right? Spice, seasoning, something to liven up the dull plate. She is naming the way Blackness gets consumed, my friends, made into flavor. And we know this, many of us do, the co-opting of Blackness in tanning, without the ramifications, the co-opting of dance and dress. I mean, it goes on and on and on, right? So Blackness gets consumed, made into a flavor for a market that finds its life boring. And for those of you who have not watched films from 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, black and white films, you need to go back and watch some of these films because you will see the lack of seasoning and flavor and why when they realized that we could bust the move, that they moved in and co-opted our life force even before the digital age, okay? So it's a new delight. A new delight. Now this machine, on top of that hunger, that appetite, and you now set this machine on top of that hunger, and you will understand what happened to Nolan Wells' family with a clarity, okay? A black boy's death, a black mother's ruin, which they tried to do, were not simply content of the week. They were spice. Spice. The most intense delight the feed had to serve a people's grief. Do you understand me? Oops. Sorry, y'all. I'm going to say it again. Nolan Wells' family was spice, and it was the most intense delight the feed had to serve their grief. Seasoned and plated for strangers who logged on wanting to feel something. And we know what they wanted to feel, right? And that is the corruption of identity at its very root. The machine splits everybody's life force from their their soul. But when you are Kim, it does one thing more. It eats what it pulls off. It consumes your pain as a delicacy. And it has the nerve to call and it has what I write here, and it has the nerve to call I don't know what I wrote there. You are not being watched, my friend. You are being served for dinner. I'm not being hyperbolic, my friends. I'm just using a different language to help bring maybe some awareness and reflection to what we do, right? Now, let me bring this off the news for a minute here and into your own chest, because I know why you may be tired. That may be tired of listening to me talk, or tired of what's happening with all this craziness around us. And it is not the ordinary tired that a night of sleep can fix. Oh, no. You may feel very exhausted because you have been managing a self all day, every day for an audience, curating the photo before you post it, editing the sentence in your head before it leaves your mouth, checking how it landed. Do I have any likes? Do I have any likes? Right? Bracing for the verdict. Crickets, right? Nobody likes crickets, right? Defending a version of you that some stranger can rewrite by lunchtime, because they're going to take what you say if they don't like it and do something else with it, right? That is exhausting because it is a war, and the war becomes salient inside of you. Can you imagine that Nolan Wells' mama, yes, she's grieving, and nobody's thinking about what's going to happen. But she should have had somebody talking in her ear about what are the ramifications, what the blowback could be, so she could have been prepared, right? So she could have braced herself for the energy that was returned. And we know from physics that for every action, there is an equal energetic reaction. Although, of course, I think that was above and beyond what came back to her. But we have to think critically about what we do before we do it, even in our moments of grief. Not that excuse me, y'all. Not that she shouldn't have done that. Not that she shouldn't have done that. She did what she felt she had to do. And that's important. You do what you do. Black women do what they do. She's Filipino. They do what they do too. As a matter of fact, their food is so similar to soul food. It tastes so good. But anyway, look, I'm getting off the beaten track here, right? Where am I at? So you don't have to imagine what the rewrite is once you put your stuff, your life force out there, right? Because you watched it happen to this woman. She spoke publicly about her son. Where is my son? And the machine took her speaking and turned it into a crime, right? It seized a line from a friend's television interview, which I'm not going to get into all this stuff, and ran it for days. And that line, a piece of it is his mom blasting us on social media from the get-go. First of all, for any black mom in the room, who the heck does he think this little twerpy, who he talking about, right? Oh, slap him in his face, right? Who do you think you talking to? I mean, like, yo. In a single afternoon, the machine rewrote a grieving mother from a victim into the villain. Punished her for the sin of refusing to be silent about her own child. And we've known this has a history in America, a history, generations of this. Emmett Till, who else? You know, I'm sweating up a storm. It's okay. I'm excited. Not about what happened to her, but just about sharing this information today because it seems so profoundly important in this moment. Not only about Nona Wells, but about what we do in this space, because it is absolutely out of control, as it should be, right? It is social media, all these little pockets of houses. Everybody's living their own life, creating their own realities, right? Of course it's out of control, right? And so the machine, okay, so punished her for the sin of refusing to be silent about her own child. And keep your fire where it belongs, lady. Keep your fire where it belongs. You know, what am I trying to say here? On the machine that amplified the line, not on some frightened young person who said it. Okay, people getting mad at her for putting up that information, right? And that is the corruption of her identity, live and on camera. Keep your grieving where it belongs, right? Keep your concern, your just awful sort of emotion regarding just not ever seeing this person in a corporal form again. Keep that to yourself. Don't look for him. Sit quiet. Be happy. Some crazy time stuff, right? And it's the same machine on a smaller size that's doing it to all of us. That's why we got to understand what we do when we're on here. Your car, your life force is running one way and your ba is running the other, your soul. And the friction between them has a name you already know deep down in your bones, my friends, right? The fight against yourself. You cannot hear your own soul anymore sometimes because many folks are too busy defending the mask that a stranger starts repainting. How many times we get caught up in the comments, replying to people who don't understand what we're saying, or because you get mad just like they're getting mad. How much time? I don't even go there. I don't even care. You don't like what I got to say? That's fine. I say thank you for your comment, and I keep it stepping. Who got time to be low vibrating like that? I already given my life force. We're giving our life force when we give the goodies, you know, what it is we have to say. And then we go sit there and argue with somebody about our content? Yeah, I'll say thank you for your comment. And if I really don't like what you said, if it's hateful, I just block you. Who got time to respond and read this BS? That's your life force being taken up by some BS, by the machine that's going to take your comments, what you respond to, how you respond, and make money off of that by using it in some other context. So now I have to take you to the coldest, most honest name anybody has ever put on this cage, my friends. And I need you to hold steady with me, because this one may be hard for folks to hear and even harder to unhear, right? There is a body of Black thought called Afro-pessimism, like pessimist, Afro-pessimism. And it makes a claim that sits at the very fault line of Black studies right now. It says that in the deep structure of this world, the Black is still standing exactly where the slave stood. What? I'm gonna read that one more time. And TikTok, my phone may die. Got like 20% left, but I'm gonna keep going until it dies, yo. If it dies, come over to Power Profit TV. Look, there's a body of Black thought called Afro-pessimism, and it says that in the deep structure of this world, the Black person is still standing exactly where the slave stood. And it calls that position by a terrible name, my friend: social death. Hear it in its own words. Would social death lead you open to? And I said it, social death, D-E-A-T-H. Quote, it leaves you open to gratuitous violence as opposed to violence contingent upon a transgression or crime. I'm explaining it to you. Gratuitous violence, right? Violence that needs no reason, no crime, no transgression, no bad thing to set it off. And the person who came up with this, Frank Wilderson III, he is a Black man, or he is African-American person, names the second mark of that position, dishonor. He says it reaches you before you have done a single thing. Quote, you are dishonored in your very being. Let me explain. Now look back at everything that we've talked about and let it land all the way down. Listen, this mother, I'm explaining what he's talking about, Frank B. Wilderson III. This mother did nothing, and still the violence came. Gratuitous, needing no cause. And the dishonor came first before she moved. The instant the family saw a Black family, it could pry open. The racist hate mail sent to the family, threats serious enough to bring in the FBI. A man arrested for threatening the mother of one of the young people involved. Afro-pessimism called the exact shape of this. It is the old pillory, the old stand in the town square, the old block in the town square, where a family could be locked in place for the whole crowd to punish. You know how, like, you put your head from, I'm thinking about this from medieval times. You put your head in this hole and your hands, and they lock you in there, and people could throw food at you, right? That's a pillory or something like that, but you're still trapped, right? So a Black family could be locked in place for the whole crowd to punish for crime of simply existing, my friends. And now it is automated. right? And it is aimed at millions at once. It's just not the town square downtown on Main Street or in front of the courthouse or wherever. This is in a reality that reaches millions and millions across the globe. And here, right here, is where I part ways with the pessimism a little bit. And it is the entire, and this is where the entire ministry of what I do begins. Afro-pessimism tells the truth about the wound, right? And then it tells you there is no way out, right? That social death is the floor this world is built on. And there is no door in it. I honor that diagnosis that Mr. Wilderson III gives. I will not accept that sentence, though, because our ancestors cut a door in that floor, my friends, before the world ever had a name for us, and it called the door the Gate of Akh. All right? So let me show you the door, because we get all caught up. I'm not doing these commentaries to get all caught up. We got to figure out how to make this work so that we can thrive. So let me show you exactly how this door was built, because our ancestors were not vague about this. They were very precise, my friend. The Akh, the shining one. I talked about this yesterday, right? The radiant, effective self. It is not something you are born already holding, my friends. Oh, no, no, no. It is not something you chase either. Okay? Listen to how this is made. The texts say that the Akh is created in the exact moment the Ka and Ba are reunited. The life force and the soul are reunited, my friends. They say that once those two are made one, the Akh is permanent and it is unchangeable. Okay? Now hold that up against everything that I talked about so far. The whole business of the cage, my friends, the digital cage, the digital machine, the whole business of the spectacle that I talked about with this scholar, Debord, right? The harvest, and the eating, right? Is splitting your ka from your ba and selling off the two halves. The Gate of Akh is the reunion. It is the day you call your life force home from the machine. It don't mean you have to stop anything you're doing. For me, it's all about critical thought. You know what you're doing. You understand what it means. You understand what it's doing. And if you understand what it's doing, then you are able to make plans, contingency plans, right? So, what forms in this meeting, right? The Ka and the Ba, my friend, is something the world will never be able to touch. We can be actors in this reality, but we have to understand kin people are different. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? Kin people are made differently. We are not like anybody else on the face of this earth. Nobody else can be us. I got a little passionate there for a minute. Right? And so, where am I at? I forgot where I was at. So, yes, the reunion. Wait, where am I at? So, the Akh is the reunion. It is the day you call your life force home from the machine and you wed it back to your soul, my friends. And what forms in this meeting, my friend, the world cannot touch, right? The spectacle cannot picture it. The market cannot eat it. Social death cannot reach it. It is permanent, unchangeable, and it is yours. But we have to realize who we are as kin people, my friends. The machine splits you to sell you. The Gate of Akh weds you back together. And what rises cannot be bought. You ain't gonna change your whole life. You just gotta realize what you are. That reunion has a name. It is a body of light that this whole week we're talking about. The Sahu, Sahu, could be Sahu. When the Ka and Ba come back together and the Akh shines, a body forms out of that union. The Sahu, a spiritual body, an incorruptible one. Our ancestors drew this body as a lily rising straight up out of the flesh. It is not born, it is created, brought into being through transformation, through passing the weighing of, are you going to continue to just do without thinking about what you do and the ramifications it has on your body, and making plans so that you understand the fullness of your kimhood in ways that protect you, right? Or are you going to allow yourself to be consumed by the machine? And I want you to hear the one word that answers this whole thing, right? The idea is, the word is incorruptible, because you all know corrupt peoples of all persuasion on them, in the machine and outside in the 3D machine, right? Because we are 3D people interacting in a 2D world, right? On social media. So it can never grab a whole thing. But we know corruption. Think about what the cage does. Its entire trade is the corruption of your identity, period. Period. Be clear about that. Defining you, splitting you, rewriting you by noon, and selling the edits, my friend. And you see that all the time. Reposting, people talking about your post, your reel, using it for their thing. We buy into this. We say okay to this. But realize that that is happening. That is your life force. That is your Ka. And the Sahu is the one self in all creation that cannot be corrupted, right? Because corruption is the single thing the Sahu was made without. It cannot be corrupted. Now, it can corrupt the thing that's holding it. And we can't see the Sahu. We never realized the Sahu. And do not mistake the Sahu for something soft, my friends. The Sahu does not only survive, it is effective. It is a further aspect of the Akh. And again, I encourage you to go back and see the video on Power Prophet TV from yesterday, The Doorway. The old text, and I'm talking about the Book of the Dead, papyrus scrolls, all this stuff, knew it as the one that walks through the chaos of the underworld and never decays. And as a guardian that comes back for the ones it loved. That is what the reunion hands you. I ain't talking about you going to pass away. Oh, no. Remember, I'm a translational research scholar. I take these concepts and bring them into contemporary terms so that we can live our lives in some type of way that is aligned with kimness. A self that does not rot under pressure and does not need to raise a hand because its light goes out ahead and clears the road, my friend. I am only naming it tonight, all right? This is the seed, because tomorrow I'm going to go all the way up into the Sahu, all the way, how it forms, how it rises out the flesh, how it becomes your incorruptible identity in the world that is engineered to corrupt you, to take your life force away from your soul, right? But carry this out the door tonight. And TikTok, my phone get ready to die, so I'm going to have to get off of there. How y'all doing? You know I appreciate y'all, all of y'all for being there. Same with Facebook, same with YouTube. Where am I at? So yeah, all the way in of the Sahu tomorrow, how it forms, how it rises out of the flesh, and all that good stuff. But carry this with you right now. The machine can corrupt a profile in an afternoon, right? It cannot corrupt a Sahu in 1,000 years. Cannot destroy that. But we have to realize what that is. Kim people have to realize what that is, right? The cage runs on the corruption of identity. The Sahu is the one self. It can never corrupt because it was made without the part that rots. Now I have to bring it to the center of all this right now because I'm about to bring this to a close, okay? I've shown you a machine that measures you, harvests you, eats you, and sells you. So let me ask you the only question that really matters right now, my friends. What in you was never available to this machine? How could it never once, and I'm hearing the guys out there doing the thing. So what was in you that was never available to the machine? And how can it never put you on the block as spice? How can it never dishonor you? Right? What did it never reach in you? That's the question. The oldest thing you carry, my friends. And what is that? Your melanin, your Kim. It could never reach that. It can't change that. My dad used to always say about, they had this saying about stay black, pay taxes, and die. Right? It can't change the Kim, baby. Your power. It can't change it. So hear me now. Your Kim is not a coat of paint. It is a repository of ancestral memory, my friends. It is your bridge to your bloodline and to the cosmos. It is a conductor of the sun's own information, my friends. We got to realize how powerful we are. And it lives upon your body as the garment turned to the light. And it lives within your body in the black substance, deep in the brain that the old autonomy folks named for its darkness, in the pineal, the melanated keeper of the dark, the the eumelanin in you is a receiver, my friends, tuned to a band the five senses miss. Sixth sense. And no algorithm has ever read it or priced it or sold it. It can't take this power. It can take representations of it, but it can't take the power. It is your Kim power, my friends. The incorruptible thread that carries the Sahu. And here is why the machine can never own it. The machine can only touch what it can measure, my friends. And your Kim is the one part of you that was never measurable, never machine readable, never for sale. Your Kim power. They built a whole world to harvest everything they could count, everything they could get. And the deepest thing in you was never once on the shelf, although sometimes we could feel like it is because we don't know who we are. So let me put this thing in your hands before you go, because this teaching finishes tomorrow. But the reframing starts the second you can see the split between the Ka, your life force, and the Ba, your soul. Today, one move. Notice where your Ka actually is, your life force. Just notice the hours as to where your life force is at. The attention, the life force you have been pouring into performing and defending a mask on a machine. Don't judge it. Just see. That's the beginning of conscious raising and spiritual awakening, my friends. Just recognize. And to begin on purpose, to call it home, give yourself one honest hour where your life force and your true self are pointed in the same direction. I know you're like, I don't know what she means. I don't know what it is. Your life force. Figure out what that is for you, right? And your soul. Figure out what that is for you. And figure out how to bring them together for just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes in your day. Okay? in the same direction. The machine off. The notifications silent. Your own soul finally loud enough to hear, my friends. That 1 hour is the reunion in miniature. It is the whole gate of Akh in a seed. And carry one sentence out the door with you, my friends. Say it in the car and the mirror. My life force is not for sale. Or you can say, my life force is not for rent. Words are spells. They're incantations. They have generative power. You say, my life force is not for rent. Tomorrow we complete the Sahu. We wed the Ka and the Ba for good, and we open the Sahu all the way up. All right, I got some more time. I don't know how long I've been on here. You know, guys, I could talk for a long time. All right, I know TikTok is probably tired of me by now. Okay, I'm almost done. All right, now let me bring us all the way home. And I know Facebook and YouTube, but see, y'all different. Whoever's watching this on TikTok or Facebook is used to seeing long stuff, right? I'm going to bring this home. Off the news and into your own life, my friends, because they did not only do this to the family in Mississippi, they had been doing a quieter version of it to you, maybe even a louder version sometimes. Maybe it was a group chat that decided who you were, a job that shrank you down to a file, a family that fixed your name years ago and never once updated it, right? Somewhere along the way, a machine, a person handed you a mask and wore it, and you wore it as your face. They swore it was your face. And you were tired enough to believe them. You have been defending a self you did not write for many of us. And you have been grieving a soul you were told to keep quiet. Today, you begin to give that mask back, my friends, and you begin to call your own life home. So hear me. You are not the mask they sell. You are not the profile they drew. You are not the spice they eat. You are not the death they decided you were. And your soul was never, not for a single day, the machines to keep. Okay? Now, I'm going to let TikTok go, although you know I love y'all. My phone is on 9%, and I'm getting ready to do, well, I'm going to tell you, if this got you going and you want to know how to get that walk on, know more about the Gate of Akh, how to shine, understand the Gate of Ka, understand the Gate of Ba, then you come on to the temple. power-profit.com/temple. 7 days. Free trial. $44 thereafter. If you got a real issue, you talk to me, you email me about financial issues. This is not about making money, although I do want to do this and have stability. This is about what I can do to bring my kin folks into themselves and have them feel full, happy, free, sovereign in a world that has told them over and over again that they are nothing. You are something. You deserve the best. You are the best. You are the best. You existed long before any of this happened. You'll be here long after. But they want to put us in a box. And we put ourselves in the box because it's safe. Come on to the temple and let's explore this Melanin metaphysics stuff together. Okay, my friends? All right? Come on. All right? That's the last thing I'm going to say for TikTok. Thank you, my friends. Facebook and YouTube, you stay there. But you see my board TikTok, Reclaim Your Worth, in the trial. Live unburdened. Come on to the temple. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If you want to get started right now for free, you go to power-profit.com, and right on the main page, you can download for free the Black Light initiation guide, right? It has all the stuff that I did in the Black Light series, and it also talks about the Dark Awake and all this other stuff. It's free. It's free. It's free. So go for it. This is for men, women, whoever wants to use it, they, them, all, everybody. Get it. All right. TikTok, I love y'all. I'm hanging up now because my phone's about to die. All right. See y'all. Thank you. I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow with the teaching. All right. Ciao, Bella. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right, y'all. I'm sorry. I was looking at whatever I was looking at. All right, YouTube, Facebook. I thank you. All right. Now, I gave the spiel about the temple. So that's just, it's like almost an hour and a half. And, I get a lot of people watching on TikTok. So I do love going there. So thank y'all for your time today. I really appreciate you. If you want more information about anything that I'm doing here, please go to the links in the bio. You can get all the information you need there. You can visit the temple. You can, the blogs, the this and the that. I encourage you. Any questions, please reach out to me. My email is there as well. So thank you for your time and attention today. I really appreciate you. Have a blessed, peaceful, and prosperous day until I see you tomorrow, right? With the